Good evening, everybody. It's Monday 27th of February, and my apologies if I look and sound a little bit rough. I've been suffering from COVID for the last 10 days. In fact, I tested positive this morning, so I've still got it now. Oof! I just felt everybody take a step back. Sorry this one's late, but I think I've got a good excuse this time. Now, there's no disguising what this episode is about. The title, I think, gives it away, and I think probably so does Josefine in the background there. I don't know how much of you can see of her. So it's all about stepping Josefine's mast. Massive milestone for us on this one, and the first half of this episode is the preparation that we had to do, getting ready to step the mast, and then the second half is, as you will see, is just stepping the mast. It was a really big moment. We did have a bit of a celebration afterwards, which is customary. So Rennie and I hosted a little bit of a celebration after work, and all the boys and girls from Nielsen's came around, Tommy, Sarah, Nigel, Dominic, etc. And yeah, we had quite a bit of a blast actually. Somebody who shall remain nameless, after drinking half a bottle of Wood's rum, literally fell off the boat on his way home, but we won't mention that. So but it was a fitting end actually to what was a very emotional day. So I hope you enjoy this episode. Catch you later. We had by now dressed both of the masts with the standing rigging. Now it was time to do the same with the running rigging. We had already, of course, repaired all the blocks. You saw that in our last episode. And so really this preparation involved replacing around about 200 metres of rope, which were rotten, and repairing, extensive repairs to what was left. Now, what that actually means in reality, as far as I can tell, most of the rope work involves splicing of one sort or another, and really that's down to sort of 2 or 3 different splices. In our case, mostly eye splices. I'm just going to whip that now, just to finish it off really nicely. A lot of whipping of loose ends, and stopper knots. The stopper knots were for the lanyards that connect the lower shrouds to the chain plates. So what I've done here is select a few examples of that work. Mainly eye splices, splicing a thimble into the end of the rope, as you can see in the case here, and then finishing it off with the whipping. That's the red bit that you can see here. Just for good measure. What I've got to do now is measure along here the exact position of where the lazy jacks hang from, and you can see my little notes here. The first one's 8 foot in, and then they're 4 foot between each of them, so it's quite easy. So I'm just going to measure now 8 feet from there to there, and then mark it with a little bit of tape, and then I'll mark 4 feet from there, and so on for 6 lazy jacks. So that's the first step. Lazy jacks are ropes that extend down from the topping lifts and basically guide the sail. When you drop the sail, it keeps it within the tram lines, keeps it all neat and tidy, which is very useful when you're short-handed. Remember, it's just going to be Randy and I on our own. 1, 2, 3 metres plus the 20. So at that point, I can go ahead and cut that. So I go to my first point. This is where I've got to splice it in. Now that I've just marked those, I can just take off the tape, and now I can just put a mark on the third one. So there's my 3 strands. So the first one's going to be under those 2, 1 and 2. So that's, now you can see why I mark them. So I stick the fid in there, and the first one is the left hand side, so that one goes in through there, and that's the first one. So it goes under 2 strands. The middle one goes through 1 strand, the middle strand. That one goes through there. In this case, what I could have done is a simple back splice, but I decided to experiment a little bit with this side splice, and I thought it worked out really well. Twisting, put the fid in, put the end of the line through the strand, pull that out. And that's the start. once it's started, it's actually very, very easy after that. You don't want it too tight. At the heart of all splices is basically weaving the strands, in this case it's a 3-stranded rope as you can see, into the body of the rope itself, and that really just means over one and under one basically. So you just keep on rotating the rope, each strand in turn, over one strand, under one strand, then you pick up the next strand and that goes next to that, over and under. It sounds simple, and it is really simple, but there are lots of ways that you can sort of get it wrong. You get into a bit of a rhythm after a while, so you tend not to make the silly little mistakes where you just get out of sync, if you like, with the strands. And also you can over snug the knot. You can pull it too tight and distort the splice itself. It was relatively easy working with this rope because it was brand new. This is part of the ropes that we replaced with new rope. Working with the older ropes and the bigger ropes was a lot more difficult. You may be able to see in front of me there a little notepad, and I've drawn a few little hieroglyphics to help me remember 1 over and under 2 or over 2, and that was very helpful, especially as I had so many of these to do. To finish off, it's over 1 and under 2. So over that one there, because it's in between these 2 strands here in this score, so it's going to go over that one and then it'll go over these 2. There you go. That's pretty nice, neat, I think they call it, is it side splice, I think. I'm just leaving about... See my knife being put to good use there, nice and sharp. I think I nearly cut the camera in half on that one. I did actually catch my book, the Brian Toss, the Rigger's Apprentice book. When I first used the knife, I just caught the bottom of the book, which I was reading at the same time as cutting, and I actually cut through an entire chapter. Just do that, so it's finished off there, look. So, there you have it. Nice side splice. I could either whip these, or I suppose I could just put in those areas where those are, I suppose I could put baggy wrinkles around. That's something to consider anyway. But see any more than those, I've got 5 more on this, so I've done the other side, and then I'll take that down, fit it to the mast, and that's one more part of the running rigging done. I'm down now. I think all I need to do are the throat halyards for both masts, and I think the peak halyard for the main. So we're getting there. Catch you later. This is the end of my main peak halyard. Originally this just ended in a rope eye, an eye splice effectively, but without a thimble in it. I've had to redo it because, as I said, there was no thimble and it had actually worn through the rope. This rope is not the best condition. It's got quite stiff with age, and so it's a really difficult one to splice. And I've just been sitting doing it, splicing it in here, and this is where my FID really comes in handy, because unlike the ropes that I've been showing you that I've been splicing, where you could just twist them and they all open up. Look, I mean, I could twist that like really hard and it's really not wanting to open up, so it's nice, it's really tight, and you can see it's really quite tough getting in there. But with the marlin spike I can make an entrance, and then before it closes up I can get my FID in there, look, and then it's relatively easy to feed the strand through there. So then I go next to the next, so that's black and white, now go into the white one. So it's over 1 and under 1 again. So I start with the marlin spike to make the nice hole, stick my FID in there, and then through with the strand. And again, same thing, you've just got to watch out that this doesn't bunch up as you put it through, so you get it nice and smooth. And that one's gone through nicely. In the process of doing this, I'm actually softening the rope a little bit. It's becoming more malleable as I sort of work it. Right, there you go. So that's actually come on quite nicely. I got quite a nice good thing going there, look. Got a nice pattern, you can see the pattern, the regular pattern of the splice. So that's all looking good. I'll just take those strands there, look, and I'll divide it in half. And then cut those away. And then continue the over one and under one in the normal way. So I'll take that one there. I'm just going to go one more time through with the half rather than cut it again. I'm going to seize the end anyway with whipping twine. There we go. It's a nice shape. That looks okay to me. Because I'm not going to melt these, I'm going to actually use whipping twine. I can cut them off flush. Okay, I'll whip that up now and then bring you back when it's finished. So you take some yarn and you take fathom, which is 6 feet, so you spread your arms twice and that will give you your 6 foot. Just nip that off, thread it, push the needle through once, then back through again just to secure the end. I've jumped a little bit here with the whipping because it's tedious to watch. I mean, whipping basically is wrapping the whipping twine around and around and around and around. It's the art is in getting it started and finishing it off, you know, getting the sequences right, the frapping turns in particular. The actual whipping itself, it just needs a little bit of care to keep it nice and neat and tidy. That's the second frap, so we've got 2 now. We've got 1 there and 1 there, so we just pull that tight. Then that can be cut off. There you go. So there you go. It's this was a big job. It's part of the peak halyard. I think this one's on the main. And I'll show a little bit more of this in the next episode because there was quite a lot involved. It was deeply satisfying at the end of the day because partly because it was in such a mess, and it was nice to get it all sorted out. They were off the corner of a big sail, something like that. But they'll do this job perfectly. It's a very hard wood, that much better than the original stuff on there. Well, obviously some. There are some problems with them, but nothing that's going to affect. I glued this piece on yesterday, so that'll look really nice and work really well. So basically I've got to set this up so that that's tight round there, and then I just smack splice that back down the rope. So there you go, not too bad. And here you see dressing the mast finally. As I completed each bit of running rigging, I tended to go down to the mast and fit it there and then. But I've just nipped that. I'm not going to over tighten it because it's not the compression that's doing the job, it's working in shear, and the only thing that's got to not happen is this pin come out, and since I'm going to mouse that with some wire, so I'm going to lock it in with some wire so it can't come off. It doesn't actually have to be that tight. So there we go. I'll just cut. All of these ropes, remember, are only there for when the mast is lifted up horizontally and moved into position for the crane. Once the crane gets hold of it, all of this will have to be cut loose so that all of these cables and ropes hang down loose. So there we go, we're getting there. You can see that there was other bits and pieces that needed doing here. In particular, all the navigation lights. There was quite a lot of wiring to do, and new aerials to fit, and I'll include a little bit of that in the next episodes. I found a really good way of upgrading the lovely old copper, the original copper navigation lights with new elements. And here's finally the lanyards. These are the lanyards that link between, as I say, the bottom of the stanchions and the chain plates, and effectively hold the mast up. And this is the stopper knot. So this is the other big part of rope work, other than splicing. It's stopper knots, and this particular knot is called the Matthew Walker knot, and it's very basic. It's simple in its basic form. The actual tying of the knot is very, very simple, but boy, is it easy to get this wrong. And in particular, I mean, I looked at quite a few websites and came to the conclusion that they're all but, I think, one of them was completely wrong. They weren't actually tying a stopper knot, and even worse, what they were tying collapsed under load. So be careful when you're out there looking at websites. It was useful though, because this is the sort of knot that you really have to understand quite well, because the tying of the knot is easy, but snugging it up is incredibly difficult, and you can get it so badly wrong. You're really looking for a pattern. It starts off with the 3 strands splayed out evenly, and then it finishes like this here. You can see all together the 3 strands at the top all exit the top of the knot. It's a beautifully simple knot, and it looks lovely when it's finished, and it's traditionally used for this purpose, the lanyards for the shrouds. And then once you've done the knot itself, you have to rebuild the rope itself, the strands. You've got to rewind the rope, because then you whip the last 1 inch, which you'll see in a minute. And you do that by you twist the ropes together. It's not difficult, but what you do is, while you're twisting one way, your wrists twist the rope out the opposite way, and that gets a nice tight winding, as you can see here. Look, so I'll just whip that inch just above the knot or below the knot, that's the bit in my right hand, and then cut it off. So it's really quite an elegant knot. And that's the other end. That's the loose end of the other end of the lanyard. And here are all 10 of them, all ready for action. And finally, there's the mast boots. These are the canvas boots at the bottom of the masts, where the mast goes through the deck and prevent any water running down the mast and into the interior of the boat. It's a relatively simple equation to make a cone. You've obviously got to draw it out flat, as in this case, and you use the equation, the circumference is equal to 2 pi r, where r is the radius, and you just do that in the reverse, because what you really need is the radius. You can measure the circumference obviously easily, just measuring around the mast collar, and then you work out what the radius is, and once you've got the radius, it's relatively straightforward. drawing it out. You need quite a big space though, so it was handy to have the deck for this. Then once it's marked out, it's just a question of cutting it and sewing it together. This actually went quite well. I was quite surprised. Using my trusty Singer, which has done a number of really great jobs for us, including the covers for our Tender Lily, and again in this case it did a marvellous job really. And the reason these have got to be done now, the reason that the boots have got to be done at this stage, is because you sew the, you complete the cone and then turn it inside out and put it on the bottom of the mast. And then then the mast is obviously stepped, and then you can just turn it down into place. It's much easier to do it that way than to try and sew it in situ. Obviously, you can't use the sewing machine if you're trying to do it in situ whilst it's wrapping a piece of canvas around the bottom of the mast. That's what it looks like when it's turned back out. Let's go and try it. I'll show you in the next episode how the mast boots were finished off, how they were actually attached. Snug, and that is. So that looks as if that's certainly not too big, so that's good. That's absolutely perfect. So I'm really pleased with that. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect. So I'm delighted with that. It's tight. That's good. Look at that. Brilliant. So I think that's going to look good. I like the dimensions. 40 was actually, as it turned out, more than enough. Hurrah, hurrah, hurrah! Catch you later. And finally the day arrived when the crane was coming. We had to do a little bit of manoeuvring of boats to get Josefine alongside the quay where the big crane could actually reach over to lower her masts on. All good fun. Moving boats is always great fun. There we go, cavalry is on its way. See how cold it is here. Everything's iced up. There's the docks all iced up. I sprinkled some salt on the decks this morning. You can see it's a bit on the chilly side. Last time I filmed all this was when we actually unstepped the mast and it broke in half. So let's hope for something a bit better today. Morning, Mark. There was an awful lot of people involved in this, pretty much everybody at Nielsen's. They were actually doing, I think, 4 or even 5 jobs on this day. There were other lifting jobs, including a whole boat that had come up from the Caribbean. and so it was all hands to the pump. And I remember somebody mentioned, actually, one of our friends passes by every day, how amazed they were. Everybody seemed to be swarming around, and it on the surface looked a bit chaotic, but they were astonished how smoothly everything just worked and everything came together. And that's true. Nielsen's are very, very practiced at this.
Captain says cut them.
Captain says cut them, because he'll look foolish if, when it's up, he can't reach them.
Right, 2 foot to go.
Okay, Isabella.
Here you see me carrying some of those lanyards, the black rope lanyards, and here's Isabella fitting the lanyards. You can see the dead eyes there. One down, one to go. So let's see. So that's in down here. Look, that's the mezzanine. So it's all go up above. Oh, I tell you what, that's so exciting to see that. Right, so mizzen up, eh? I don't know why, but I actually was quite nervous throughout the whole of the day. I think probably because it was just sort of bringing back memories of the last time we were here when we unstepped the mast and it fell in half. I don't know, but I didn't really relax until the whole thing was over. It was in fact in this very spot where we unstepped the mast all those years ago and it fell in half.
Trying to get one side of the bridge.
The mainmast is about to be lifted in, and I just remembered the coins that we got. A 25 euro Danish 1931 coin and a English 1931 penny. One was supposed to go under the mizzen and the other was supposed to go under the main. What do you think? I forgot to put it under the mizzen and all that going on. So at least I can put them both in here, so they'll be represented. So there's the penny, look. And there's the 25 euro, that can go in there. I'll put them on the low spots there, look. Side by side, that'll be fine. There you go, pennies in. So that's ferryman's fee paid. So Rennie and I should cross into the future life safely. Anyway.
Oh, I'm gonna have to go on the other side.
We are in? Okay. Half an inch.
Go down below. Oh, drop some money down here.
Is he nicking my money?
Got a table to go through shortly.
Okay.
I had, of course, already pre-cut the big hole in the top of our fire top, the big slab of oak for the mast to go through. And I must admit there were a few anxious moments as the mast was going down as to whether it would... I knew it was going to fit through the hole, but it was a question of the alignment, because the way that the deck rakes upwards, the mast doesn't sit perpendicular to the mast, and trying to actually work out how the mast was, you know, the line of the mast, where it was going to sit was really difficult. As it turned out, everything was fine.
Okay, ready. Got about 2 foot to go. Nine inches to go.
How much?
9 inches.
Okay. That is square, yes.
No, it's not square yet.
Here you can see where the mast fits through the fire top.
And stop. Right, you've got to slew the top of the mast forwards. Yeah, try lowering it that. That's him. Half an inch.
We are in?
Yeah, we're in.
Okay.
Come down another half an inch.
Half an inch.
Yeah, there he's down.
Okay.
There's a little bit of black shit on the floor there, I'm afraid, Reg.
Oh, Nigel, really?
I think it came off my gloves from last mast.
I'll give you some wet wipes there as well if you needed them. Look, for your hands, obviously. Don't worry
Look at the
about
milestone, Reg.
it. Hey, isn't it? A big one. Hey?
A big one, yeah.
And there you go again with those lanyards, look. feeding them, threading them between the top and bottom dead eyes, and I'll cover again. I'll explain exactly how you do that and the type of knots that you use. I'll do that in the next episode. So there you go. I hope you enjoyed that. It was a massive day, as I've already said. It was an emotional day because I was quite stressed during the day, and then we really let our hair down in the evening. And but there was an awful lot more to do. You can see that's just the masts up. There was all the spars to put on, the booms, the gaffs, the bowsprit, the wedges to build. An awful amount of work coming up, and I'll show you that in the next episodes. Tensioning, getting the right tension in all the shrouds and everything. So, but there you go. Big moment. That's a huge milestone in this project. So, catch you next time.